Hey guys, I'm Devin.
I'm Diego.
And I'm Max.
And we're Burrito. And on today's episode, we have Diego's critical review of a certain show.
Damn,
Diego, you want to go? Yeah, it's not.
I want to say critical review, okay? Because my subjective review. There are things that me personally I don't like about the series, but there are things I do like. Should we start with that?
Yes, we will. But first, how about we say what the show is?
Oh yeah.
Nah, leave the mystery for the whole episode.
Leave the mystery. Let them figure it out while we're talking about it.
Yeah, but this is already an underrated anime, so it won't they just won't get it if we don't say it.
Okay, go.
So it's Bungou or Bungo Stray Dogs. However you pronounce that, I'm not a stickler for it. I say Bungo and Bungo interchangeably. But yeah,
it's pronounced Bungo.
So it's likely Bungo.
I'm pronouncing it Bungo from now on.
I think that's the correct way to say it. So we're going to be talking about Bungo Stray Dogs, which is an anime. I believe it came out in 2016 was the first series, or the first season, and they just had their last season in 2019, I believe. And then they are slated for a fourth season as well. So they're doing pretty well, and they're going to go, and the fourth season is supposed to be the finale of the series.
Oh, okay. So that's what you mean. Okay.
Yeah. So that being said, I asked Diego to watch this show a little while back, and I had Max watch it about a year ago. Because, so, the show itself is very different, and again, it struggles in some aspects, and it succeeds in some other aspects. And, I'm a big proponent of there's no such thing as a perfect show. But I really like the show because there's a lot that it does right. And I had Diego watch it just so that I could have another point of view on the show. Because Max's point of view was, I watched the anime, and that was it.
Hey, no, I had some more to it. Things went boom, and I liked it.
Well, yeah, I mean, the animation is beautiful. That's besides the point.
Yeah.
But, so I had Diego watch it, and about, I think it was 7 episodes. Yeah, at the start of season 2, he was like, bro, I hate this insert thing here. And I was like, wow, okay. Interesting.
There's a lot of things I got to talk about.
It's funny because it's when the American authors are introduced. So to get started, the show itself is based on the premise of the personalities of certain writers based on their work, all in this world, and there are psychic powers as well. It follows the journey of Atsushi, who is this orphan kid who was abused and mistreated and tormented, and it follows his path to, I guess, finding a purpose in life. That is ultimately the goal of the show. So
with, anime characters just always being orphans or tortured as kids,
well, it's
that's just a trend.
Story.
It does, and the thing about it is it works very well for him specifically. I don't love Atsushi as a character, but it does work because of the fact that the author, by the same name, his story, Beast Beneath Moonlight, was literally an existentialist piece about a man who detaches from society and turns into a tiger to escape, and trying to find a purpose in life.
So, Devin, hold up. So everyone with powers is based off some sort of book, is what you're telling me?
Everyone with powers, everyone without a power.
Okay, So here's the thing. I watched the whole series and didn't get that at all. I was just like, these guys are fighting with powers, and I'm about it. I don't need no reason why they got them. This is just fun.
Yo, Diego, this man missed the character named Edgar Allan Poe.
Wait, hold up. Edgar Allan... Oh, wait, no, the Cthulhu guy.
No, that's Lovecraft.
Yeah, no, I figured it. I was like, oh, I thought those guys were based off just books, their powers, and everybody else was just based off animals or some cool stuff. I was just also Cthulhu guy freaked me out, to be fair. I was like, that ain't a human. He ain't human.
He's not. But
no, he is actually Cthulhu. He is 100% actually Cthulhu.
Yes, Max, it's okay. It's okay. I understand. You just discovered.
My mind's blown now. Wait a minute. So they're all based off books, is what you're telling me?
Yes.
Huh. I wouldn't get that originally. No one told me that. I would just assume they're all cool powers.
So I mean that's part of the issue because all of the ones introduced in season 1 are Japanese authors, and if you don't read like a lot of like different things, or if your literature class didn't cover that, or like an English class or like a writing class didn't cover that,
or
you
if you didn't pay attention during those classes.
Very true, very true. Like for example, myself going into the series, I only knew of Kunakita and Dazai, because they were talked about in a writing class that I was in, and it was only briefly. I was like, wait, that name sounds familiar. Then I googled it. I was like, oh, duh, haha. But anyway, so Diego, I guess what I should ask first is, what were your thoughts on the introduction of the show?
Okay, so my thoughts on the introduction of the show. So when I was first watching the show, I thought I actually liked the comedy a lot. I found a lot of the characters could be very interesting and have lots of potential. I think some of that potential is wasted, obviously, just spoiler. I think that potential is wasted. But in the beginning, I was intrigued. I did think it was an interesting show with the interesting concept. I did like a lot of the characters' abilities. My favorite being Kunakira. I think that's how you say his name.
Dopo Poet.
Yeah, Dopo Poet. I think that's probably my favorite ability in the show.
And it's explained so well, I think, like personally, that ability more so than other ones is also explained very well.
Yeah, and I think it's used the most creatively because it's the most limited, and so because it's the most limited, it's the most creative, or the most way to be creative. It has the most potential to be creative.
Yeah. So I think I should say it now. The fun fact about Kunakita, because again, you do like him, and you said that since like the first episode. So in real life, Kunakita, he was initially a romance author. He wrote poems for romance poems. And he was poor. Like, I'm talking like dirt poor. He was an ex-samurai, picked up a job that he was making like $1 a week. Like, he was so broke. And his wife's mother was like, you either kill yourself or leave that man because he's terrible for you. And so she was like, I don't want to kill myself, so I'll leave him instead. So after the divorce, he stopped writing romance and he started writing dopo poetry, which is literally writing about everyday things in the most boring way possible, right? So, for example, say I'm holding this, I would write, the pen is blue. And that is the whole poem. That's it. That's the whole poem.
And you make money doing this?
Yeah, so he has a whole collection. Not really. He didn't make a lot. He was bankrupt like his whole life. So
until he was dead, and then he was revered as a poet.
Exactly. And so I just think it's really funny because he wrote about everyday objects, and then if you look at his power, he writes down an everyday object, or like he writes down the name of a thing, and then it comes out.
Yeah, so everyday object.
Flashbangs and
it's not really an everyday object, but he just writes down the thing and it comes out. Is what I mean.
Grapple gun, Diego.
Wire gun.
Yeah. That I'm sorry, dude. I don't know. That's not an everyday object for me.
What do you mean? I have one right here. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I got questions for you. That's an everyday object for you.
No, but go ahead, Diego. I'm sorry to cut you off, but go ahead.
Well, I don't really know where I was, but I do know what the question was. And so I guess the first season, I did like the comedy. I enjoyed the comedy a lot. I didn't take the show that seriously, which is why I enjoyed the first season a lot. Dazai was a very interesting character. I loved his infatuation with suicide, and I wanted to know where that stemmed from.
I have the answer if you want it.
It's based off the writer, isn't it?
It is. The writer.
No, that's not, to me, that itself. Okay, go on. Go. What were you
saying? So the writer in his actual life tried to kill himself. I think it was like 116 times.
And
documented.
So it's definitely around 200.
Damn, he freaking sucks.
Yeah, so he was born into a rich family, but his mom was sick, so like all of the money went to his mother, like his mother's treatments, and then she died anyway. So then they were like just middle class, and like he was a writer, so he would write all these depressing ass stories. For example, No Longer Human was his most famous one. But then he did eventually get married. He found a wife, and then he asked her to help him kill himself, and she did, and they killed themselves together by drowning.
He failed in the anime to drown himself.
Yeah, because it's funny
The
though.
romance.
It's funny though, because he's looking for the murder suicide, right? Whatever, but also
The
he's
double
in.
suicide.
Yeah, he's introduced how he died.
Yeah, that is pretty good.
Yeah.
So you
That's
think
pretty
he got
interesting.
isekai, Devin?
Yeah.
That
Oh
would
my
be
god.
that would be cool as hell.
Yo, little do we know, Bungo Stray Dogs was an isekai the whole time. What a
That's
plot
what.
twist!
That's in season 4. That's a season 4 plot twist.
Oh man, oh man.
Yo, just saying, if that happens, called it here first. Just saying.
Yo, imagine Max is right.
We have to do a follow-up video if that happens with me just celebrating that I was right up for once.
Stupid. But go ahead. So you were talking about the potential of Dazai and
Yeah. So the potential of Dazai. So I really did like Dazai as a character, especially when the first episode that it showed his like genius level intellect.
Mhm.
I think that episode was done really well. The episode where Rampo's ability is introduced.
Mhm.
And it goes, and then Dazai goes through it. Like I don't know if you ever watched Sherlock Holmes on Netflix. He kind of like goes through that level of like thought process, and
Yep.
so that's what I expected from Dazai going forward, right? That's what I expected from Dazai going forward. I guess I'm just supposed to assume that that's what he's doing like 24/7 now, which is okay, you know, that doesn't make it bad writing or anything.
Yeah.
But it's just that's what I found interesting. His
Yeah.
explanation of that was what I found interesting, and so
You know what's weird? You know what's really weird?
What?
When they do the so I agree with that because I did like the episode, like any episode where they start explaining how the series of events broke down after a mystery or something like that is solved, or a mission is complete. For example, the one with Kenji, the farmer guy, when they explain how like, oh, people are always honest. I know that's explaining his ability, but like it also explains the series of events that are happening. So I really like that episode. I really like the episode with Rampo versus Edgar Allan Poe. Because
I don't like that episode.
Really, but they explain everything. They explain it for no reason, but they explain it.
I personally like the cop episode where he's like, where we first get introduced to
that's
the.
That's the one that Diego was talking about.
That's the one I like too. I like that episode too. But
Well, it's just because I found it so cool that it's not actually his power. He's just
let me see
good at what he does.
That episode is actually not that episode specifically, but the episode that you were talking about, Rampo versus Edgar Allan Poe. Actually, maybe you could explain it to me in a sense that makes it better. But this is my biggest problem with the series. This is my biggest absolute problem with the series, and it's just that people don't seem competent at the expense of plot twists and at the expense of the plot, and so. They're supposed to seem like they're like super smart and stuff like that, but like when it comes to like a dire situation or anything like that, they'll like lose like their IQ drops to like 10.
Yeah, and if I could add on to that, Diego,
go.
What really just drives me insane mostly is that sometimes like you just see like a situation where if this character is supposed to be a super genius or something, you're supposed to be able to outsmart his opponent and loses to like some of the simplest things. Yeah, I'm sitting there like. How you literally planned everything else out and you lose to like a regular punch to the face because you weren't expecting him to be direct? Like that's the first thing you should be expecting.
Well, that sounded like Naruto versus Neji.
Okay, maybe bringing in some Neji issues here too, but like that's for another video. But that's my pet peeve with a lot of shows when they start doing stuff like that.
Yeah. And so let me just explain the situation so you know I'm not talking out of my ass. But when Rampo was trying to figure out who was the killer, right?
Yes.
It was just so weird to me how they had this. All right, so he spawns into the book, right? He spawns into the book. Yeah. He's in a room alone. There's a guy on the floor that's dead with a knife in his chest, right? The door is locked. He unlocks the door. Everyone runs in and is like, oh my God, who could have killed this guy? And it's like, and then the guy that was in the room with the corpse is the guy that's questioning everyone. I'm like, in real life, if you walk into a room and you see a guy standing there with a corpse, obviously you're going to suspect the guy that's in the room with the corpse. You know, you're not gonna start questioning everyone else.
May I argue though, say that
One second. There actually is a very simple thing that Diego's partially overlooking.
Okay,
It's the way the scenario was presented to him. He was told that one of the guests is the killer. And then he was spawned into the world. So for him, it was like, oh, it couldn't have been me. Like, I wasn't even here. Obviously, it's not me. But he got spawned into a later part of the book. Like,
yeah. I know he got spawned into a later part of the book, but that's my point. Is that like the moment I saw him, I literally figured it out in like 2 seconds. I was like, he's in the room by himself. It's him. He's the one. He's the killer.
Well, that was my thing. My thing was it's either the doctor who went with him or it was him. It's they're gonna have to fight because I thought they were gonna have to fight each other or something like that.
I was guessing suicide.
For me, it was the guy in the room with the corpse. I was like, that's the only logical conclusion. And it just makes me mad that it took him that long to figure it out and that he had to like do all this other like deduction. And I'm just like, no, bro, like, come on, bro. You're in a room alone with a body. Like, it has to be you. Like, in any other, you know? And then it ended up being him. That's the only reason I didn't like call it was because I was like, there's no way that that's the actual thing because that's the obvious, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's the obvious answer that it's the main character that killed him.
So the only thing I can liken it to, oh man, I have a knot in my headphones. Oh, well, whatever. The only thing I can liken it to, have you ever been on the phone and then for a brief second you go to look for your phone and realize you're on it?
No.
You're alive.
I don't know about
games on my phone and look for my phone.
I've never been on the phone and then looked for my phone, but I have like had my phone on me and been looking for my phone.
Yeah. So like it's like that. It's like it's so obvious that it's like, oh wait, duh. Like afterwards, like you just happen to catch it really quick, right? Like my whole thing was, oh, it's gonna be one of the people he just poured it in there. Like Max's thing was, oh, it was suicide. All of these are very obvious answers. Right? There are 3 very obvious choices. It can't be anyone else. But
yeah, I guess.
What if it was? You know, this is a world with magic powers, psychic powers. You know, it's like there has to be a certain like, and this is true for all media. There has to be a certain level of suspension of disbelief, but they do still have to stick to the rules they lay out. And there are points when Bungou Stray Dogs does not stick to its own rules. You're absolutely correct on that. You have that 100%.
Yeah.
And I'd like to talking about the rules in the world. I'd like to go on to like another point, which is the power system in the world of itself and how all the powers work. Because I personally like that system, like how everybody's powers are very unique and everything has like its own quirk or ability. And my favorite is, I think it's the guy based off, since now they're based off books, is the guy with the money powers based off The Great Gatsby.
Well, he's based on 2 people. The guy who wrote the national anthem, Francis Scott Key, and Scott F. Fitzgerald. He's a double.
I thought it was The Great Gatsby for some reason.
No, you're right.
His name is Francis Fitzgerald, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he is one of my favorite characters because I love his power concept because it could be the most busted power if you're a billionaire, which he is, or you could be really awful if you're poor or horrible money management skills, which once again he's burning billions of dollars, so he is.
All right, Max. But the man, if that's your favorite character, I implore you to read watch the 3rd season because he actually does something really fucking smart and cool.
Oh wait, no, I know what you're talking about because he gets his money back, right? Like he does like a whole like.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he eventually yes.
You know, I think I watched season 3 then because I remember like after he lost all of his money, he's down on his luck, like he's just like depressed, and then this man like literally gets back up on his feet and is like, I'm gonna make billions again, and does it, and then his power is busted again.
Yo, so one of my favorite little illusions in the show is when he's fighting Octagawa and Atsushi and he holds up his African Express black card. So it's an American Express, but he can't say that because that's trademark. But it's African Express and it's black, and then he goes every last penny and gives up all of his money just to beat the brakes off of both of them. I do like that. I do like that they had to tag team to win, but I do think that billions of dollars should be worth a lot more power. Truthfully,
he should have just been one hit KO. Like, it should have been over.
this is my problem with the second season. What's that entire time that Atsushi was on that plane, Dazai kept going, Atsushi, you're the only one that can do this. You're the only one that can do this. And I'm like, bro, Dazai, if you were there, you would make this guy, he would spend all of his money and then you would nullify his ability and then he'd be broke and powerless. And like it would just be an easy dub. Like
I mean,
giving the important. That's what I mean by like
yeah.
Dazai's supposed to be like this super genius, and I'm just like, you put yourself in these situations where like it could be easier. You could have made a greater plan. You know what I'm saying? And then that's where I stop where the suspension of disbelief, where I just can't do that. Where I'm just like, bro, like come on, bro, Dazai, if you were there, this fight would have been extremely easy. So and I'm just like.
No, so I definitely get that, and I thought the same thing. I was like, yo, if it was Dazai and Kunikita over here, like this fight would be over.
Yeah.
Like Kunikita would yank him off the blimp, and Dazai would nullify his power. Cool, game over. We win. But then I had to step back because I've watched Bungo Stray Dogs 3 times in its entirety. Like,
oh my god.
No, but I had to.
Okay.
Because the first time I just thought it was okay. The second time, I still thought it was okay, but then I started picking up on things, and I was like, wait a second. On my third watch, and I don't think everyone should go back and watch it 3 times. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying, for me, I do that sometimes when I think something is interesting, but I need more, right? Like, I need more to go on mentally. When I rewatched it, I realized Dazai is not the main character, right? Like as much as we want him to be, as much as his ability is complementary to almost every situation, it's not his story. His story was that flashback. That's when Dazai's journey,
which was the Oda flashback. I love that flashback. That was probably the best part of the series to me.
I agree. But that's why Dazai is who he is today. Because he was covering his eye all the time, and then as Oda dies, he takes like the blindfold. It's literally opening his eyes to the world, right? Like it's not a subtle illusion at all. So now he's seeing the world in a new perspective. He has both eyes open finally.
But why was he covering his eye in the first place? Those are the questions that I have that leave me like I'm like you need to explain why he's doing that in order for that to have any meaning. You know
there is like a throwaway line that he got injured because they're like, oh, what happened to you? And like there's a throwaway line that he got hurt, that he got injured. But that's not the point, right? So the biggest theme in Bungo Stray Dogs is finding a purpose for life, and then the second biggest theme is redemption. Dazai had a, I guess, protege in Octagawa, and look how Octagawa ended up, right? Octagawa is like one of the worst human beings imaginable. He's out here killing people. He bombed a police station.
Seems like a pretty nice guy.
For fun. He just, boom. He told this little orphan girl that she's worthless, so she should kill herself. Like...
Yeah, Octagawa is Garbanzo's, yeah.
But he's like that because of how Dazai taught him.
Well, Dazai treated him like shit. Like, yeah, Dazai treated him like...
And that's Dazai's fault, like 100%.
Yeah.
Now he has a second chance with a character, Atsushi, who is, at base, very similar to Octagawa, right? Like, who they are at first is pretty much the same. What agencies and what paths they took are completely different. And we see this in their chemistry and the way they fight together and the way they even fight each other. Like, they have, like, a Naruto Sasuke thing going on where, like, it's like, there's chemistry there. They just hate each other. It's weird, right? There's obviously more of a friendship, respect thing from Sasuke and Naruto. I'm not saying that. But they hate each other and they don't understand each other, but they do, right? And that's why it's slated for a final showdown to be happening, like, later in the 4th series or
really?
Something like
that. You think it's a final showdown? I think it's...
Oh, it's explicit.
I thought it was team up. I thought they were going to team up.
No. They explicitly say Atsushi actually propositions Octagawa with a don't kill anyone for this amount of time so we can get stronger, and then if you beat me in the fight, then I'm wrong. type of thing. Like it's going to be a straightforward slugfest.
Okay.
Maybe not slugfest, maybe a stabby stab, but still.
Somebody dying.
I also kind of like the way that Rashomon, Octagawa's power, keeps getting explored. How it can be.
Yo, I loved how they how he augmented his muscles with it. I was like, I was like, dude, why don't you just cover yourself? Like that would be the best defense. And this guy looks like a freaking ninja when he does it. I'm like, yo.
Yo, I was just thinking kind of kinky, covered all in leather, running around. Seemed a little sus to me.
What a guy.
Just saying, man, like if I see a ninja covered in leather running around, it's gonna raise a lot of questions.
Well, to be fair, it's not leather. It's whatever Rashomon is made out of.
What is it made out of then, Diego?
Not leather.
Hellspawn and darkness.
Yeah, so leather.
Yeah, some shit like that.
It sounds like something a Hellspawn would wear, so leather.
So we've been on that topic for quite a while.
Yeah.
Let's branch out to the rest of the show. I mean, we already kind of did, but that's what I'm saying. Let's branch off to the rest of the show. How about we just run down and you give me things that you had issues with, right? I'll try and explain it, and obviously you're still valid if you dislike a part of the show, because at it being art, most things, the same way I view like things like Attack on Titan, SAO, and I don't view them favorably or I don't like them at all, depending on what we're talking about. This could be the very same case for you. But besides the point,
go on.
But yeah, so like I'm saying, art is subjective. So even with an explanation, you might not like it, but an explanation may make you go, oh, okay, I can understand that now and have a different respect for it.
Right. So you want to run down?
Yeah. So okay. Go ahead if you have any specifics.
All right. So season 1, honestly, there wasn't much that I disliked.
Okay.
However, I will say that this was a problem where they built up these they built up the Port Mafia, right, to be extremely like deadly, and then literally in like 30 seconds they like annihilated the Port Mafia, right? Besides the gravity dude, right? And they annihilated the Port Mafia in like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And then from then on, it's hard for me to take the Port Mafia seriously when they're going up against them. So like now I'm in season 3 and they're going up against the Port Mafia, and I'm like, you guys wiped the floor with them in season 1 in like 10 seconds. Like you guys should be able to do it again, especially now that you have Atsushi that's stronger. You have the what's her name, the White Snow, the girl with the Kyoka, the girl with the demon, with the white demon. And so
wait,
that's one of the problems I have.
I think hers is Demon Snow, because Light Snow is
Snow. Yeah, you're right.
Light Snow is the redhead.
Yeah. Light Snow was the redhead. So Demon Snow. And so that's one of my problems. However, when I first saw it, I didn't see it as a problem. I actually liked the plot twist. It was comedic, and that's what I meant when I enjoyed the comedy. Yeah. And it let me know that they were on to like bigger things. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So yeah, that's probably my only problem. That from season 1 makes it hard to take the Port Mafia seriously in the upcoming season. On top of the fact that all the fodder in the show do not know how to use submachine guns. They do not know how to use guns.
They got their certifications from the Stormtrooper Academy.
Literally the only people I've seen use a gun in the show effectively is the dude with the Band-Aid on his nose, from the Port Mafia, and the blonde, the girl.
The blonde?
The one that's in love with Octagawa, because she literally puts. He did put holes. He did put holes. Yo, son, she put holes in Naomi, bruh. She was like, da 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 da. I was like, bruh.
Yeah, you're right. So yeah.
And then she protected Octagawa's body, like by herself, and then everyone else showed up to help her. But the Port Mafia
she didn't help everyone else because
no. The Port Mafia was gonna let him get wiped. And she was like, I can't let my commander die.
But it's yeah.
So, okay. So, I agree and disagree with the Port Mafia points, right? Because the people we see get wiped are Jin, who is Octagawa's younger sister, who has no powers. The dude with the Band-Aid, I keep forgetting his name.
The orange-haired dude,
yeah. Yeah. He has no powers either.
Yeah.
He's just in charge of a group of normal people. Jin is an assassin by herself, like, right? She doesn't even command a unit. And then you have Black Lizard, who does have powers, but his powers are just literally a force push and a force pull.
And a crush. He
Oh
can
yes,
crush people.
yes, he does have force
Crush and
crush as
twist
well.
people.
Yes,
It's pretty useful ability. Like,
but as
against like a character like Dazai or actually maybe not Dazai because Dazai can nullify ability, but like Kunakira, like I feel like he'd be very formidable against like a character like Kunikita, where he could just twist your body with his mind, you know?
Yeah, but so notice the people who weren't involved, right? We had Lemon Bomb. I don't think Lemon Bomb is busted, but he can be busted if you give him prep time to make as many lemon bombs, like what he did to the boat.
Yeah,
when he was just like boom, boom.
His ability isn't even busted. His ability is literally just that he can't take damage from lemon seed.
About Lemon Bomb. What book is he based off of?
They're typically by the same name or they're a quote from the same story. I'll look it up after this because I don't have it on hand.
Man, I'm trying to figure out what kind of books some of these guys are based off of.
Some of them are literal translations. That's why. So, I think Lemon Bomb has an interesting power. He makes grenades, and he's immune to the grenades, but only if they're made of lemons, right? So, like, it's not like he could just go out and buy an actual grenade.
Well, Lemon Bomb's actual name is Motojiro Kaji, which is a Japanese writer.
Yeah.
Lemon Bomb is just the guy, you know.
That's his ability.
Stage name. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that is.
Yeah, that's the ability name. I just call him by his ability because I don't know it otherwise.
Yeah.
So, Lemon Bomb, like, I think the ability itself is cool, and I don't think it's too overpowered. I think it's a perfect ability that sits in the middle, and then you give him prep time, and he's busted. You know what I mean? Like, and we saw that. Someone else, Chuya, is absolutely broken.
The other demon. The other demon.
The guy. No. That's Lovecraft. Chuya is the one with gravity, with the hat.
Oh yeah. Chuya's gravity.
Chuya is absolutely busted. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts around that. And then the third member that we didn't see with the Port Mafia when they got, or there were four actually, was Octagawa, who we already know is like top tier in that group.
Yeah.
And then their boss Mori. So we had four of their strongest members who weren't there when the other three got beat. So while I do agree that those members were no longer a threat unless they were together against like normal people.
Yeah.
Right? But when the other four were there, I think that brings... Oh, and the redhead girl.
Yeah. That's who I meant with the demon.
Oh, got you, yeah. And I think that brings the power level of that group way higher because you had their five strongest members not present when they got wiped by the Armed Detective Agency.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I could completely agree with that. You're right.
Got the hands when that happened, though.
We could go to season 2 now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Season 2 now. One of my biggest problems is how I felt like the guild members were very they were shown to be competent, and then when it comes to their defeat, they're very incompetent. In the sense of, do you remember the farm guy, the guy that could like grow?
The guy with the neck, who he could like grow like tree roots and stuff.
Yeah. He could grow like tree roots and stuff, and Lovecraft too. Lovecraft was is his name Lovecraft? Yeah,
Lovecraft.
Cthulhu guy.
Yeah,
him. When they had Light Snow, the guy that the Light Snow and Kunakira, like, you know, trapped in the trees.
Yeah.
And there's a car coming towards them, and they were like, there. Do you remember that Austin Powers scene where he's just like, oh my God, there's a car driving towards me. What am I gonna do? You know what I'm saying? That's literally what it reminded me of. Because he's like, oh my God, is the driver not witnessing us? What's going on? And then they just get ran over. And I'm like, bro, like 2 seconds ago, you were like so competent. Just move out the way. Move out the way and capture them again.
The only thing I would say was like Lovecraft just couldn't move, and he was the only one. But he also wasn't reacting. He was like, "Oh, it's a car." Boom. But Lovecraft is just like that, right? The other guy, you got that. I agree because
Lovecraft did not give a shit
because he was chasing down Naomi and the other girl, and restraining Kunakita and Light Snow all at the same time with help from Lovecraft. And both of those powers are busted. You got that.
You know, and it would have said if that guy were to be like, oh, when I'm using my powers, I have to stay rooted. You know, if they came up with like a reason why he couldn't move out of the truck's way, then it'd be fine. But like to me, it feels super cheap. That victory feels super cheap because I'm just like, so like you couldn't just move out the way. You noticed that there was a truck coming. You noticed that the driver's not noticing you. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to be like an elite assassin of the guild. Like, just move. Just take a step. You know what I'm saying?
So that's one thing I will say. The show does give a lot of love to I always forget how to say his name. Tamizaki, the redhead
dude.
Yeah. They give a lot of love to him because everybody's always like, we know you're a non-combat unit. We're like, we know you're a non-combatant. But he's like, I still have the most versatile use for Light Snow. Like, Light Snow is even like on par with Kunakita's ability. They're used the most versatile ways. Like he made himself invisible to be an assassin.
Well, I would say he's more versatile than Kunakita just because his ability is more broken.
He hid the enemy so that they would get hit by a truck. Like
like I like the way he used it. I like the way he uses his abilities. There's no way I'm slighting that, you know?
Yeah.
The way he uses abilities are always like great. When it was Atsushi and him versus that one girl that like put them into that pocket dimension.
Yeah.
And then like the door opened. Yeah. The door opened and he like, you know, made an illusion that like the door was closing or something. Like that was pretty epic. You know what I'm saying? He always uses his abilities in the best way. But there are times where I'm like, not for him specifically, just in every way that like the villains are defeated. I'm like, bro, you could have just moved him. You could have just shot him before he started talking. You know what I'm saying? Like you're supposed to be a bloodthirsty killer.
No,
you're letting this guy go on a monologue.
Diego, you're ruining the point. Villains need to listen to the hero's final say or go on a monologue. It always is supposed to be.
No, Max. He is that's the thing. He is right and he's valid, right? Because some of the characters that lose though, they are still competent even though they're losing, right? Yeah. I think Octagawa is consistently consistent.
He's consistent with his IQ and with his, you know.
I think Mori, the leader of the Port Mafia, I think he's very consistent. I think the red-haired woman from the Port Mafia is also very consistent.
Yeah.
Some people I don't think are consistent at all. You're right, the dude with the tree. I think Nathaniel Hawthorne is underrated. The dude with the scarlet letter. He controls the blood.
Oh yeah, him.
I think he's very consistent.
He's really good, yeah.
And Fitzgerald is consistent because of his personality. Does that make sense? The dude with the money power?
Yeah, I don't think there's any
10 out of 10.
I mean, like the way he got defeated wasn't inconsistent. So
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like
it didn't make they didn't dumb him down. Like it wasn't like an easy like, oh, you could just move out the way or something like that, where you could just do this.
Like as opposed to Tom Sawyer, he was like, yeah, I lose because I'm bored. The dude with the sniper rifle that could shoot from anywhere.
Yeah.
Why wasn't he the first use?
Yeah, stuff like that where I'm like, bro, come on. You guys are supposed to be like genius level intellect.
Because the way he's not that smart, but his power is literally shoot one bullet at a target. The first bullet aims. The second bullet doesn't miss because it's being told where to go by the first bullet. He's a two-shot kill on everyone.
Use him.
I think Cthulhu or Lovecraft, he was busted through and through.
He just couldn't die. You can't
exactly. Yeah. Cthulhu is stupid.
He doesn't have to be smart or anything. He just has to be. He's a walking like nuke. He's just like gonna go through everything, and no matter what you do, you're not stopping him.
Yeah. I think the lesser members of the Port Mafia are an absolute joke. You're right. You got that. Like obviously,
which I feel like some of them, specifically the guy, the
Lemon Bomb,
not Lemon Bomb, specifically the guy, the old guy.
Oh yeah, Black Lizard.
Specifically him, I feel like he should be like
retired.
Not retired. I feel like he should be as competent or as much of a threat as Octagawa. Like he can literally just twist your body with his mind. Like that is That's OP, you know?
And like that's the thing. He's not shown particularly smart, but he's shown very lethal against normal people. It's like the second anyone can fight back against him, he loses.
Yeah.
It
Um,
is what it is.
I agree.
Sometimes.
You have any other issues with season 2? Because I agree with that point. There are definitely like, and this is a problem in not just this anime either. I do think that there's a lot of anime that do this point poorly, and they just introduce these villains who are stacked up so much to the point where they just can't lose in a regular way, and then they're stuck getting caught with their pants down. Like whereas like I will say the guild when they lost to the Port Mafia and the Armed Detective Agency, that made sense because they stirred up problems with both.
Yeah.
But if they're such an effective group, why is it an issue? They have like 10 members who all have superpowers, right? Like
Yeah, and then like I'm not even slighting the fact that they lost. I'm just slighting the fact of more like how
some of the members lost.
Yeah, how some of the members
Actually-
lost. Where I'm like those
least half.
members. If those members didn't lose to those fights, which I feel like they shouldn't have, then it would have been a lot harder, or they might not have even lost at all. You know?
Like yeah, exactly. I do like the Pocket Dimension girl. Her ability, like the way she lost, made sense to me, and it set up that her character, she didn't have her heart in the thing at all, like because she didn't want to do that. She was similar to Atsushi, and they handled her very well. I like Atsushi's dynamic with her.
And although I will say that during the fight, I was mad that Atsushi wasn't like they started and then it was like, all right, so they got into the pocket dimension, and I was like, instantly, what should be activated is light snow. As soon as you act, you know what I'm saying? As soon as you're like the fight started, you know, start running away, start playing tag. You know what I'm saying? He's letting like people like get mollywopped by people, and I'm just like, dude, like act.
Yeah,
that's my biggest problem with him. Is just that he just doesn't act
because he seems like a passive protagonist because he doesn't have a purpose until later. Because
now in season 3 he seems to be acting a lot more.
Because the ending of season 2 is his climax as his character arc.
Yeah.
But I can see how that can be annoying because of the fact that in season 1 he's discovering this world that he didn't know existed.
Yeah.
In season 2,
and so in season 1 I gave him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
But by season 2 I'm like, dude, you've been through so much, like you should be on it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you should be on it.
Yeah.
But in season 3 he is on it.
Yeah.
I feel like he is on it from what I've seen. He's like quick to think and quick to he's like activating his ability as soon as the fight starts and stuff.
And I think that came at that moment when he forgave himself, when he had the fall and he had to use the tiger to save himself. Like when he was falling and he had to use Beast Beneath Moonlight to save himself. He like had to talk to the tiger and like forgive him.
Yeah, I remember that.
I think that was a very strong character moment, and I think the show has a lot of those like small minor moments where that like actually have a huge ripple effect later on. For example, in episode, I believe it's episode 31, there are 2 episodes by the same name. Portrait of a Father is the name. When the headmaster is coming to visit him and gets hit by the truck. Spoiler.
That made me so sad when that happened, man.
Well, no, I was like, yeah, good, you got hit by a truck, punk. And then when he's like having the breakdown, but he's not crying yet, and like he's like, Dazai, like, what am I feeling? What is this feeling? And Dazai's like, I can't possibly know what someone else is feeling. Like, it's impossible to know. And then he's like, but typically when someone's father dies, they cry. And then like they play the outro music and like he's like crying. I was like, that's actually a really good moment for Atsushi. Because
he realized that in a way that was his father.
Yeah.
However,
he doesn't forgive what he did.
Yeah, he doesn't forgive what he did. What he shouldn't, because
exactly, I agree.
What he did was a super dick move. But this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. This is actually one of my other problems. I think I actually told this to you before like when I was getting into it in season 1, which is they were using his flashback so often, but they never explored it fully.
Until much later.
No, not even then. I don't think they fully explored it, even with Wait, I don't know what you mean much later. I don't know
Well,
if they'll do
in
it more, but
in that same episode I was talking about, and like with his interactions with the girl in the pocket dimension, you come to find out like he was abused, he was trapped in the dungeon for a couple days, and then he was kicked out, and like the staff at the place, like the headmaster told everyone not to tell him he's the were-tiger, but by him not knowing, you just had these grown-ass adults hating on a kid for no reason.
yeah.
And clearly his ability is tied to negative emotion, or maybe they didn't know all that. But like, and then like you even have like the headmaster giving him like hate me. Like he's telling him hate me, don't hate yourself. Hate me, don't hate yourself.
Well, and then here's the thing is that feels like a retcon because if you go back to season 1 flashback, they're always like you're useless, you'll never be loved by anyone.
But
So
that
it's
was
like,
the rest
why
of the staff.
was it? Because
Yeah.
it also
Yeah,
seemed
it
like
was never
there
him.
was like a headmaster. It was always
Yeah, they
like,
had
one
him in
guy.
the middle, but like a lot of the voices were women's voices.
But anyways,
Yeah.
that's besides. My point is that
I can see how it feels like a retcon.
if my biggest problem with the series is how incompetent some people seem at times.
Yeah.
My second biggest problem with the series is how a lot of it is I'ma tell you and not show you. And
Okay.
I'm a very show don't tell, which for me is not a problem. It's not like an objective problem of the series because I understand that it's based on writers and stuff.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
writers are supposed to tell, it's about writing and stuff.
Yeah.
So they're supposed to tell. But I prefer the show method. And so when he's going through this flashback and he's talking about, what they did to him and stuff, I can't feel for it as much as if they did like a full-blown flashback, like,
Like
how
season
how
2.
they, yeah, like how they did season 2 for Dazai and
Dazai.
Oda.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I'm saying? If they did that for Atsushi, then every other moment would feel so much more earned instead of them
Okay.
just like telling me and then he has a character development.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's one of my biggest problems with not really the show because they did it for Dazai and I
Yeah.
love that they did that for Dazai.
You know, they also did it for Kyoka and Kunikita. Kunikita with the bomber, the blue messenger.
Yeah.
That little bit. Because we got a little bit of his backstory, and then we met the other characters who told the rest.
Yeah.
And then with Kyoka, we see her parents, like how they actually died, because she didn't remember because she was 4 years old.
Yeah, exactly. And they did that with exactly. So it makes me that's why I'm like I'd rather have like the show aspect because it doesn't feel earned. The character development and well, for me, the characterization and the character progression doesn't feel earned until I like see exactly the trauma that he went through instead of just being told. Because if you think about it, we didn't see the abuse.
No, we didn't.
We just heard.
We just saw him in
From what he
chains
said.
in a dungeon thing.
Exactly.
You're right.
Exactly.
You're right.
And it's hard for me to feel for someone. So when Atsushi was going through that moment, I was like, I can't see how you would even think of him as a father.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? I can't I would have to I know that that's the case. I know that that's the case.
Like if they had the flashback and they were showing him abusing him, and then later on or something, like they showed him never hate yourself for what's happening. Like, and they showed the speech flashback that they showed, if that was like in a moment where they were actually bonding or something like that.
Yeah, if it was just more fleshed out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if they went through because they went 3 episodes for Dazai's flashback. If they did that for Atsushi, then I would, when he's going through these character moments, I would be like, wow, like I actually feel something. But because because they did it the way they did it, I'm like, damn, like I wasn't there for it. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel a connection to the character.
Yeah.
In that way.
That's valid. That's absolutely valid. You get that.
Yeah.
So, do you have any more issues with season 2? Then we can move on to season 3. If you have any issues with season 3.
No, no, that's it. I don't have any issues with season 2.
Okay.
For season 3, do I have any issues? Honestly, season 3 so far has been pretty good. Any issues that I have with season 3 come from
directly from season 2.
Piggybacks from season 2, like what I said about in season 1, the poor mafia gets wiped, so certain characters are have zero effect to the story in my mind.
Yeah.
Even though now I'm supposed to take them seriously. You know what I'm saying? In my mind, because of season 1, it was like, damn, like that sucks. But yeah, honestly, season 3 has been good. I am interested in what the hell the Russians are gonna do. I do hope that his defeat isn't because he's supposed to be as competent as Dazai, and so I hope his defeat is.
I think you're gonna like it. It ties in some things that honestly, like if I'm confident in anything, I'm confident in the fact that his defeat, you're gonna like, because
Okay.
it's not just bullshit.
Okay.
And we've seen the lead up prior to it.
Okay, yeah.
Matter of fact,
As long as his IQ doesn't go below 20, because
no.
what he showed me was impressive. When he was like counting all the cards.
When he faked the time ability.
Yeah, he faked the time. He said, what was it? What did he say his ability was to
I forget
human
exactly.
consciousness. He was like, I can like change human consciousness, or I can control human consciousness or something. When he faked that ability and then got the guy to kill himself,
Yep.
I was like, that's pretty cool. I was like, that was a pretty lit. You know what I'm saying? That was smart.
Yeah,
now I hope
that's real life
that's what I'm saying.
genjutsu, bro.
That wasn't. Yeah, it was a real genjutsu.
Yeah. Because like, imagine if powers are like a real thing in real life, and then like somebody was like, "Yeah, I have the ability to trap you in your consciousness," and they just set it up, and they were like, "The only way out is to kill yourself." What if they're lying? But what if they're not? Like,
Yeah.
I just sit there honestly and be like, I guess I'll just be trapped here forever.
And then here's the thing: is that the executive, if the executive just didn't believe him and was just grabbed the key and just opened the door, everything would have been fine.
Yep.
but he was so confident, which makes sense for his character from what we've seen. It makes sense for his character. So yeah.
Yeah.
So I do like it.
You will definitely like the end of season 3. And it does tie up some loose ends and sets up very well for season 4. And I don't quite know the date on that. I'll try and get that and put it on screen somewhere around here. But besides that, right? A lot of the things like that we talked about, like you said, you wanted Atsushi more fleshed out. I agree with that, because in Portrait of a... Go ahead.
Well, to make it more specifically, it's not that I want Atsushi to be more fleshed out, because honestly, I don't like him as a character right now. But it's more like I'd rather, if they're going to be using his flashback as like character growth, I'd rather the flashback be fleshed out.
Okay, valid.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Because when we first saw the headmaster in that episode, we didn't know who the hell he was.
Exactly, yeah.
We did.
Imagine if they fleshed it out. We would have been
like,
yo,
that's that guy I hate. Like,
exactly, yeah.
But
they have like over my head either way, Devin.
For example, they have a moment like that with Nathaniel. They have a moment like that with Nathaniel Drake, the blood guy, when he's the assassin who's hunting the psychic people. When he's murking people, and Dazai's like, "Oh, you're just jumping off the blood that's in the air," and it's like, "Oh,
yes, you see, that's good, because we've seen his ability before, and so it makes it feel earned." Yes. When it's like a plot twist like that, when it's like, oh, like, you didn't. Not only did you just tell me, but you showed me beforehand how his abilities work, and so you see, that's what I like. Those are the type of things.
So essentially, what I've been hearing is that you don't actually dislike the show, right? What I'm hearing is you thought season 2 was very slow and it did a lot of things piss poor. Correct? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And season 3 seems to be slowly redeeming itself.
Yes.
Okay.
Season 3 seems to be redeeming itself. I do like how they did their. There are still like slight things where I'm like, come on, Dazai, you know this. You know this. You know what I'm saying? You know this. But you know, I've learned to just take it for what it is.
Have you made it to the caves yet? In season 3? The caves, like when they like there's literally towards the end of the season, there's literally
I'll tell you where I'm at. I'll tell you where I'm at. Literally the president just woke up and he's in a dimension where he's like being like he's like poisoned, and he woke up inside the girl's dimension, and he's like, oh, I have to tell them that my life isn't as important as saving the city or as the Port Mafia or something.
You're talking about the leader of the armed detective agency.
Yeah, that's the leader of the armed detective.
About. Okay. Oh man.
Yeah, so I think I'm 2 episodes away from finishing season 3?
I think it might be 3. I think it might be 3. Yeah.
Okay.
But
It's gonna be well worth it when you get to.
honestly, those last few episodes, there's portions where the Russian is playing 4D chess with Dazai, and we see and hear it. Like the whole thing is wild. The Port Mafia armed detective agency stuff gets resolved. The Dead Mouse timeline. I think that's the Russians group's name. Dead Mouse.
Dead Mouse.
Isn't that a EDM guy or two?
Dead Mouse? I don't think it's
Dead Mouse is an EDM dude.
Is it?
Yeah, I remember because he was in Goat Simulator.
It's like MAU5.
Yeah,
how you spell mouse.
Yeah, he's there because he was in Goat Simulator playing in Goat Simulator.
Canadian producer.
Yep. Cool. But I think I do especially think season 3 was very strong, and I do remember finding lulls in season 2. So I do agree with that. I never disliked it. I did take the show at face value when it was when the quality was a bit lower, because certain things had to be slow for future reveals, future things. But I do think that there are a lot of character moments that are very good. For example, F. Scott Fitzgerald gets a lot of love.
Bro, I gotta say, the way he planned out getting his money back, where he shorted the dude's stock and then not framed him for murder.
GameStop.
Yo, we saw it in real life.
Bro, but the fact that he orchestrated, he shorted his stocks and then made it so his stocks would be shorted. I was like, was that his plan or was that the girl's strategy?
It was the girl's strategy, but she's his right-hand man.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, that's like the best way to ever make money ever.
I was watching, I'm like, that's some market manipulation going on over there, but yeah.
And it's crazy because I think that, well, I mean, he didn't make the guy commit a crime, so it's not really manipulation. He just helped.
He just pushed it
exactly
a little more so it would crash. But that man knew some insider info right before it was all about to happen.
But
then he bought his stocks back when they were at low price.
Yep.
All time. He's short. He did what in the stock market game was perfect. He shorted them till they reached all-time lows, sold all of his shorts, then immediately bought at the all-time low, went right back up. And he's over here
and now he's at $1 billion company.
Now he's like, and I'm the majority shareholder of your company, or should I say my company? I was like, oof. But
all it takes is 51%, man.
I think Fitzgerald is honestly a great leader who had a completely selfish motive. So in season 2, that's why the group seemed more disorganized, right? But the members who choose to follow him after the fact, like the girl who does all the planning, and the guy who developed that software thing, the one that he saved from being killed or from going to jail or whatever. I think it shows his charisma, his ability to his ability to lead, his ability to execute a plan, even if it's not his plan.
I'm just saying, there's a reason that he was able to make another $1 billion in his sleep, essentially. You can have the greatest plan ever made, but if you don't have the ability to execute that plan perfectly and bluff the way he bluffs.
I also think her plan is a Deus Ex Machina that's handled very well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because she writes a prediction.
We didn't talk about
what?
My least favorite character.
Naomi or Rompo?
Rompo. I freaking hate this guy.
Who's Rompo?
The guy who's dressed like a detective. So I knew you were gonna bring up this.
Why
point.
the haterade, man?
I get why. I get why. However, you have to understand, with the exception of Naomi, every other character is based on an author. No other character is based on a pen name or a book. And it's funny because the only two characters, or not the only two, but the two Diego hates the most are the characters who aren't based on people, so they don't actually have a breakdown or a roadmap for what their personality should be like. And those are Rompo, who is Edogawa Rompo, which is a pen name, which is a play on Edgar Allan Poe. Edogawa Edgar.
Yeah.
Allan Poe. And then there's Naomi, who is based on that guy's book. Not that guy, Tommy Zaka's book. So
you know, I used to hate Naomi, but then I realized her purpose in the series is to
is
get
to
bodied.
motivate him.
No, it's not to get motivated, it's to get bodied so someone else doesn't get bodied.
Diego, you're really drinking the haterade right now.
Her
That's all I'm
ability is to
saying.
take one for the team, and I like that. It's called
Yo,
take one for the team.
so fun fact about Naomi, she's based on a book by the same name. And the book is about a man who is completely overwhelmed and dominated by a woman who is named Naomi and has a sense of Western female independence. So she's about spending all of his money, about going out and partying, not needing him until she wants something, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then Light Snow is his other book that's based on the illusion of peace in the suburbs during the war. World War II, by the way, is the one. And which is why the ability casts illusions. And then that's why Naomi is such a dominant character in their relationship. And that's why he's helpless against her, pretty much.
No,
and the last thing I'll say about Rumpo is he's not a real person. He's a pen name, like I said. And his entire defining personality trait being the ability to solve mysteries is because of the fact that is because he was a mystery writer, or she. I don't know that they know, but that's Rompo's entire personality because they don't know anything about the personal life. And that's it. That's all I have. So I guess my last question for you, Diego, and I'll actually ask you too, Max. Would you recommend this to other people?
Do you want to go first, Diego, or do you want me to go first?
You go first.
Well, as a simple man of the group who didn't understand anything about that these characters were based off books or whatever, or authors or whatever we're talking about here, I'd say yeah, it's a fun ride. Like even if you just turn off your brain and watch it just as an anime and don't try to look any deeper into it, I think the characters and the motivation and the story is it's a really good time. Like, look, I think the fights are good. I think the show is pretty fun to watch.
Oh,
for the most part.
I think the fights are beautiful.
And I think
it's by Studio Bones.
And what I'm saying is, like, when I just watch as a pure anime, like, I'm not even trying to, like, connect. And you guys are over here connecting characters to, like, authors. I'm over here not understanding any of that and having a good time just assuming these are what the characters' quirks are. And as somebody who doesn't want to do all the research, I'd say it's still a good time. Just be ready to have two of your friends maybe talk to you on your podcast one day about, like, oh, how you don't understand that these are all authors. Like, because that's the only downside I see personally.
Okay.
Fair. And I'll go last, or I'll go next, and then you could go last if you want. Yeah. So my answer is going to be a yes, but specifically if you like things that are at least somewhat thought-provoking, it won't do that all the time, because there are moments where it's like, okay, turn off your brain. There are times where it's like, okay, this takes more thought, and then there are times where it's just like, oh, these fights are lit, and I think the show is a good all-around show, and I think a non-talked about thing about the show is it is viewed through a female lens, and what I mean by that is the fan service shots are geared more towards females, so it's usually males. Like Atsushi always falls and lands with his butt facing the air. Dazai's hair gets wet and he looks like a drippy K-pop boy. And it's things like that. There's not really there's not fan service for males. It's fan service for females. The show is very heavy about that. I think the comedy is pretty well handled next to some of the serious moments, and I don't think all of the serious moments are handled super well. But as a whole, I think it comes together to be like a 7.5 out of 10. Like I think it's a very solid show. By no means the best thing ever, but like I said, it's a solid show. And that's it for me. Diego?
Okay, so me personally, would I recommend it? Now, I would not recommend it only on the slight that I don't think it's. I'm very picky with the shows I watch.
Yeah.
And I don't think you know what? Let me not say that, because it is unique. I do like the unique aspect of how every character is writer. Is based off a writer and stuff. Now that in itself doesn't make the writing in the show good.
Mm-hmm.
That
of course.
Just basing it off history or basing it off of something doesn't make it good. Mm-hmm. However, I do enjoy aspects of the show. I wish I feel like the show would have benefited more from an episodic type of feel to it.
Okay.
Now I wouldn't recommend it simply because I feel like it's a very like 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 show. And I know people don't have a lot of time in their hands, so I
Well,
only like to
7 out of 10
recommend.
is pretty decent. That's like you got to realize like that's even 6 is over half, right? Like so it's a decent show is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, no, I think it's better than like
Trash. No,
Sword
no.
Art Online. You know
Like
what I'm
by
saying?
far.
You know what I'm saying? Like I think it's better than like there's
No
definitely
comment.
shows that I find better than I find it better than. However, when I recommend a show, I like to make sure that it's like the writing is like at least like an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. And I think there's just too many points in the series where I'm like, bro, like you could have just gotten shot, you could have moved out the way,
Mhm.
your IQ points is dropped. You know what I'm saying? where it just takes me out of the story. Where I'm just like, bro, like, you know what I'm saying? Like now I know that I'm watching like a story. Now that I know that this character Rampo is literally just a plot device. Now I know that like the reason why he doesn't want to, you know what I'm saying? Like his attitude right now is literally just to create more tension, not because, you know, it
Yeah.
makes sense.
Gotcha.
And so that's why I wouldn't recommend it.
All right.
That's fair. And again, as you can see, all three of us have very different views on all the anime we watch. And sometimes Diego and I have super heated debates, but I knew this one was going to be picky, or tricky. No, I meant picky. Was because of the fact that the show itself is already super exclusive. Because if you don't know the authors, sometimes you could be left
Yeah.
out and you lose a lot of the themes.
Which, by the way, I don't know a lot of the authors. I'm not a big reading buff, so I didn't know a lot of the authors. Obviously, I knew Lovecraft, and a bunch of other ones. I knew Sir Francis. Fuck, what was his last name? I forgot his last name.
He's two of them. He's Fitzgerald and Francis.
Yeah,
Scott
Francis
Key.
Fitzgerald. Yeah,
And Francis Scott Key.
and Francis Scott Key. Okay.
Yeah, he's weird. He's both of them.
Yeah, and so you know, so I did miss those points. And so if you're big, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna switch my answer to half and half. If you're a big book buff, I would for sure recommend this show because you're gonna. I think you're gonna get a lot of the themes and stuff that I missed. Because I'm not even saying that like you know the show's bad. I clearly missed themes and stuff. But yeah,
That's fair. Like we always say on. Well, I mean, we don't always say it, but every time there's a contentious point, we would try to bring it up so everyone knows. Art is subjective, and we're not all gonna like everything. He's gonna finish this the last couple episodes that he has because you know he's already invested all this time.
And I want to see how the Russian fucks him up. But keep going.
Valid. And you know, like, and there's gonna be shows in the future that we talk about the very same way that vast majority of people seem to love. And that one's actually coming up soon because I think it's almost over. So we're gonna catch my take on Attack on Titan sometime soon.
I was gonna say the anime with the fire openings to keep some mystery, but like, all right.
Oh wait, how did we not talk about that? Bungo Stray Dogs has great openings, yo.
And
Every opening
endings.
is fire.
And endings.
I haven't watched the endings.
Oh, congratulations! We found something you guys agree on.
We've been Baka Burrito.
I've been Devin.
I'm Max.
And I'm Diego. Please make sure to subscribe, like, comment on what you think about Bungo Stray Dogs. And,
Or just go ahead and give it a watch if you haven't seen it yet. It's super underrated, but you know, give it an episode or two. Just see if you like it, and then keep watching if you do. And if not, let us know if you agree with Diego, if you agree with me, if you agree with Max. It doesn't matter.
Didn't really have that many opinions on this, but yeah, agree with me if you don't have an opinion.
And remember to subscribe to the channel for more content in the future. Have a good one, guys.
Adios.